Hey, sixth graders, Mr. Slaby here. It is Tuesday, February 2nd, Super Bowl week, right? So I just wanted to, again, remind everyone it is Black History Month, which I mentioned yesterday. And I found a little interesting piece of information that it was a lot of news made for Amanda Gorman, who's our youngest poet laureate, basically the country's sort of best poet or like most notable poet. But she wasn't the first African American poet by a long shot. In fact, actually, there's an amazing story about Phyllis Wheatley, who was she was actually a slave who was taught English and Latin when she was over here, and she produced poetry. It was beautiful. It was amazing poetry. And her story is kind of a rough one because she actually was taken over to England and published a book. And think about that. Like, this is someone who was under the oppression and, fist of enslavement. Um, and she was able to publish poetry because people believed in her, and her poems were published. But then what happened is that in America, um, frankly, the white men who ran the country at the time kind of like ripped her poetry, and they knocked it down because they said, as a slave, there's no way she could have come up with beautiful poetry, when in fact it was beautiful. So kind of an interesting bit of history. We're talking 1770s, right? That's how long ago we still had, African American poets who were producing things, and there were people who believed in them. White people believed in her, but not enough, because at the time that was a dark history. So just something to share. Phyllis Wheatley, there's a name to know. Okay, today we're going to move into adjectives and adverbs, and I'm going to go through this pretty quick, but ultimately you should be taking notes. So what I want you to do is get out your notebook and go to the section where it talks about mini lessons. And we got to talk about what an adjective is. And I know some of you would say, like, oh, I know what an adjective is, but I want you to write down this definition. An adjective is any word that describes a specific noun. It answers the question, what kind, about any noun. That's really important. Like, when you're trying to figure out what an adjective is or where there is one, you want to work from that phrase of what kind. And when you mean by what kind, God, size, color, shape, mood, appearance, safeness, anything that is describing the noun works, okay? Let me give you an example. And also, there's an easy way to remember what an adjective is. So think about this. Another name for a noun is a subject. Ject. That's a key phrase, right? That's a root. Adjective. So there you go. That's how you know that an adjective is always connected to a noun, because they have that same root. A noun can be a subject, and an adjective describes a noun. So again, I saw the lion. What kind of lion was it? It was cowardly. I saw the lion. What kind of lion was it? It was green. I saw the lion. What kind of lion was it? It was huge. Little old me saw the lion. Now, there's no description here of the lion, but there is a description of me, which is a noun, and it's what kind of me? Little old me, or little and old. And then I briefly saw the lion. Guess what? There is no adjective here at all. There's a different word. Okay, so there is no adjective here. So again, let's review. An adjective is any word that describes a specific noun. It answers the question, what kind, about any noun. So again, if we talk about size, a house equals what kind of house? A huge house. That's huge is the adjective. What about color? How about a horse? What kind of horse? It's a spotted horse. So it's describing the horse and its color. Shape. So we got a car here. What kind of car? A sleek race car. So you can have multiple adjectives, right? Car is the noun. What kind of car is it? It's a race car. What kind of race car is it? It's a sleek race car. Mood, a woman. What kind of woman? A joyful woman. Appearance, a pencil. What kind of pencil? A chewed up pencil. And safeness, right? A walk. What kind of walk? A dangerous walk. So these are how you go about discovering what an adjective is. All right. But now we have what is an adverb. And people get confused. They're like, Mr. Slaby, I don't get it. Well, again, let's go into the root. Adverb goes with verbs. Adverb, verb, right? And essentially, it describes a verb. Okay? An adverb is any word that describes a specific verb. It answers the question, how did they do it? Remember, a verb is any word that describes how a person or a thing, what it's doing. Well, the adverb is how they're doing it. So let's give an example. And again, verb, right? Describes a verb. I saw the lion cower. How did it cower? Fearfully. I saw the lion pounce. How did it pounce? Powerfully. I saw the huge lion blink casually. There we go. Like I threw an adjective in there, but it's an adjective. How did it blink is the only question I'm interested in with an adverb. It blinked casually. Little Omi saw the lion wander. How did it wander? Lazily. I briefly saw the lion yawn. Oh, I changed it up on you. Because basically the verb here is saw. What was I doing? I saw. How did I see it? I briefly saw it. So don't get caught in, they're not always at the end, sometimes they're at the beginning. All right, here we go. More work. So an adverb is any word that describes a specific verb. It answers the question, how did they do it, about any verb. Walking, how did they walk? They walked quickly. Staring, how did they stare? They intensely stared at me. Okay. Shouted, how did they shout? They shouted weakly at the children. Thinking, how did they think? They thought long and hard. So you could have multiple adverbs. They still relate to the one verb. They thought, how did they think? Long and hard. And lastly, eating, how did they eat? They ate well. That's how they ate. They ate well. So adverbs always go with a verb, one verb. It could be multiple adverbs, but that's the difference, all right? So we have adjectives, right? Where they go with the noun. They describe a noun, basically what kind of noun. And we have verbs, which describes a verb and answers the question, how did they do that thing that the verb is doing? Okay, so here's your work for today. I want you to write 4 sentences. Piece of cake, right? 2 with adjectives or adjective, and 2 with an adverb or adverbs. I want you to highlight the adjectives. Remember before we were underlining nouns and circling verbs? I want you to try to highlight the adjectives. And if you don't have a highlighter, just shade your pencil. That works lightly. Highlight the adjectives and then X out the adverb. So you kind of lightly put X's over the adverb. That's how we're going to separate nouns and verbs and adverbs and adjectives. So here's my example. The gigantic dog bit the man. So there's my adjective sentence. Gigantic describes what kind of dog. So I highlighted it. Here's my adverb. The dog bit the man angrily. All right. So how did it bite the man? It bit the man angrily. Angrily is describing how it bit the man. So I X it out. That's an adverb. All right. I'm going to put 2 adjectives in this one. You don't have to. The huge planet rotated on its wobbly axis. So the planet rotated, right? And what kind of planet was it? It was huge. And then axis it's not a noun that has a verb, but it does have an adjective. What kind of axis is it? It's wobbly. Okay. The huge planet, now I'm going to change this up for my adverbs. The huge planet wobbly rotated and swiftly spun on its axis. So again, the planet, huge describes a planet. It is not an adverb. But I can say that how did it rotate? Wobbly. And how did it spin? Swiftly. You'll notice a lot of times adverbs have that ly. Sometimes adjectives too, but a lot of adverbs were ly. So write these down in your notebook. So you got notes, and then you got these 4 sentences. Take a photo, and then submit to today's Schoology discussion post. Then the second thing you will do is you will do your discussion question for today. So Today's work is submit a photo of adjective and adverb sentences to discussion post, and then reply to your own discussion post with a question about today's reading in the crossover. All right, everyone, there's your work. I'm here. You're welcome to come to class if you want. Join us. Anyway, we'll see you on Thursday, Friday. Tomorrow will be a catch-up day, and I will offer a first chapter Wednesday. All right, everyone, take care.